Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I'm your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your Midday Market Report for January 4th, 2023. Now, I have printed 2022 about a half dozen times this year, but at least I haven't verbally said it to start a show. Today, blessed, honored to have our weekly guest, here, Mr. Andrew McInnis from McInnis Picks from Wager Talk, talking a big hockey game today. And it's not the Devils at the Red Wings. It's not Tampa at Minnesota. It's not Dallas and Anaheim. It is Canada, USA World Juniors. And the first question I'm going to ask is Andrew going to the game? That is the big question. So let's ask him. Without further ado, let's bring him in, the one and only Mr. Andrew McInnis.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Happy New Year, by the way.
Happy New Year to you and yours. And the answer to your question is TBD. So that's people can take that as they will, but it really depends on a few different things. But I'll tell you what. A lot of people, I feel like they should know this, Jeff, but they might not know. When you see, there's all kinds of articles going on about the ticket prices in Halifax right now. And I feel like people don't understand sometimes when they read these articles that that's resellers. You know what I mean? Like those prices that are going so crazy. Some people don't actually realize that that's not like the price of the ticket. That's the price of somebody reselling the ticket. And that's really what we're seeing right now. Here in Halifax. So it's been ridiculous. A StubHub, somebody has a ticket up for the gold medal game, I think for $10,000 or $15,000. I mean, you could go to a Stanley Cup final game for that much money. You know, it's absolutely crazy to see that type of stuff. Single tickets right now, lower bowl are going for around $1,500. It's craziness, but we're waiting on a couple. Apparently, some tickets are dropping. I've got a few sources I'm relying on right now, and a couple people I'm kind of bargaining with is for their tickets. But it's going to be awesome. They just had the relegation series wrap up earlier today. Latvia remains. They'll be in the tournament next year. Austria, unfortunately for them, they have been relegated, but they didn't really belong in that group, honestly. They wouldn't have been there if Russia was around. And then Czech versus Sweden. And I told everybody, take Czech plus 650. And then when they meet Canada, do what you will in the finals. But I think Czech's a really good hockey team.
We talked leading up to this about we going to purchase the series. You know, it's a big investment, but we talked about the semifinals and potentially the finals. And it's that double-edged sword, Andrew, where we purchased the tickets so we could go to these two games. I get that part. I really do. As I've talked to you, a good friend of mine has season tickets to the Celtics. So he puts them up, all his tickets up, he keeps what he wants to. We give them to our clients, yada, yada, yada. And they resell them and to get back some of the money. Well, the playoff run the Celtics had last year enabled him to take me to the first game against the Bucks, the first game against the Heat, and he actually went to one of the games against Golden State. Now, for you is, like you said, who's going to sit there for 4 or 5 games in the prelims? Who's going to sit there? So it's almost like I get to this spot. Damn it. This is why I got the tickets versus, all right, Canada is going to win. That's what we're hoping and assuming here. And so do I go to this game and sell the gold medal game, or do I sell this one and hope there's a gold medal game? Mm-hmm. And when it comes to reselling, you can put whatever price you want up there. It only takes one person to buy it. When you look at the Super Bowl tickets, the Final Four, the Masters, or whatever it is, it just takes one person saying, hey, you know what? This is a once of a lifetime. I want to go. I want to see the next Gretzky, whatever it is. So it's tough. I think the closer it gets, if you drove down and went to the arena and actually even waited till they dropped the puck, you probably, could go 15 minutes in the face by it.
I heard that they're releasing. See, like Hockey Canada is in charge of when they release. So on the website, they might say sold out, right? But they're not.
Mm-hmm.
They're not sold out. They're saved. So, I mean, look, here's the thing. I should have bought the package, but here when I went to buy it, you and I spoke together, and you told me what you think I should do. And the problem was that when I went to buy it, it was last couple rows upper bowl that was available, and I realize now, obviously, that could have been still sold. But I was lucky enough to go see Canada, Germany, Canada, Austria. New Year's Eve, I literally canceled. I had dinner reservations, canceled them, and went to see Canada, Sweden, which was just, I'll remember that forever. That environment was just, it was electric, Jeff. It was so much fun to be a part of. And then, but then you look at the prices for today, right? And different things going on as far as that's concerned. So I've got buddies that are literally, while I'm doing shows, they're at the Czech game going on like in here and starting like I think in an hour. And they said they don't even care about that game while it's going on. While it goes on, they're going to take a walk down to the box office and get going. I heard they're releasing like 400 or 500 tickets for tonight. So we'll see what happens. But did you watch that Slovakia-Canada game? That was an unbelievable contest. I mean, anybody that likes hockey, it would just be interested in that one.
Truth be told, I missed most of it. I caught bits and pieces of it. Unfortunately, I'm excited for tonight's game. It's funny when you talk about the seats again, it is where every 4 years the regionals come to Providence in the March Madness tournament. And every 6 years, I think the Garden gets like the Sweet 16. But going back to like the regionals, going to the Bean Pot even, you sit next to or you eye the losing team, and lots of times, they're here for the weekend. If you were going for, say, the regionals in the March Madness in Providence, as soon as Wichita State loses, these guys are gone. So they'll turn around and they'll sell you the next round tickets for face value just to get their money. So,
well, actually, Jeff, it's funny you say that. Sorry to jump in, but it's funny.
No.
Everybody is selling their tickets for this afternoon. That's what's hilarious. Like, anybody that has tickets for Czech Sweden is trying to get rid of them because they're trying to just, if they don't have tickets for tonight, they're pretty much selling the tickets for this afternoon to recoup some money to buy tonight's tickets. Or just in general, they're trying to make some money back but it's so funny because on TV, I'm sure you'll be able to see there's a decent crowd there. No doubt about it. There was a decent crowd for the Latvia game at 11 a.m. But it's funny to me. Like, I'm in this Facebook group and my friends have laughed at me because I've been, earlier in the round robin, I was laughing and making these posts telling everybody, don't get ripped off, don't get, but now anyone's paying a big price. But it's crazy to see in this group right now, everybody's selling their Czech tickets and everybody wants to buy the Canada USA ticket. I'm telling you, and I mean this because I've been debating with people about this, and I promise you, if I end up going to tonight's game, I will not mind if I don't go to the game, the championship. To me, this feels like the final. Like, you're American, I'm Canadian. This is a rivalry, the two teams. Obviously, Czech beat Canada in the round robin in their first game, which was a big upset. But the buzz around the city is that this is the gold medal right now. Like, I think that even though Canada lost 5-2 to Czech, people believe the two best teams in the tournament are playing against each other in this semifinal. So that stuff is always interesting when you've got that scenario where I honestly think that the prices for these tickets for tonight are going to be more expensive than we'll see for the gold medal. It's Canada USA. I mean, it's the rivalry.
Well, I would probably assume, take it to this past weekend, that the Georgia-Ohio State ticket was going to be more expensive, even though Georgia now playing TCU in the national title game. I think if you asked an average fan, they would have rather seen and paid the price for Georgia, Ohio State than
Right.
Georgia, TCU.
Good point. Good point. Yeah, and that's why it's not always just about the finals. I can make some food, order some food, do whatever, and watch the finals. But there's just something about this game I want to go to. Either way, though, I won't be too disappointed. I got to mention though, I know you can tell I'm just excited about the game, but the Slovakian goaltender, the story that he was the third string guy for a while for this Slovakian team, and he's playing in I believe the step below the USHL, and now he's going to play for, I think, Green Bay, a university in Green Bay there, or he's playing for them. He has their pads. I think I saw the colors there. What a performance I saw there. I mean, Canada wins in a real tight one in overtime, but the expected goals number, I found somebody keeping track of that with their system, was like 6.2 for Canada. I mean, the saves he made on Bedard, Fantilli, right? It's crazy to see. And I'm curious to see what's going to happen in tonight's game, because as much as we saw good goaltending on the Canadian side as well, something tells me I got a feeling this might be like a classic, like 5-4 game. I could be completely wrong. I'm telling you, I'm probably not going to bet that game. I'm just going to be a fan, to be fully honest with you. But it has that feeling to me, Jeff, that this might not have that same playoff type mentality game where it's 2-1, 3-2. I feel like we're going to see some goals in this game.
Well, I got the board up there. My eyes are locked in. I think I'm reading this board real well, and I'm going to throw both games out to you, let you break them down, and then I'll give you what my eyes are seeing. How's that sound?
All righty.
2:30. Czech versus Sweden. Czech minus 140. Sweden plus 115. Puck line. Czech minus a goal and a half plus 190. Sweden plus a goal and a half minus 225. Under over 5.5 juiced under minus 135. You can take the over plus 115.
I mean, this is the thing about Team Sweden. The game they are coming off of, they were winning that game, Jeff, for I think all about 3 minutes, maybe 2 minutes. If anybody recalls that game against Finland, I believe, they were losing 2-1, tie the game, and then a minute later score again, take the lead, win the hockey game. So one thing about Team Sweden is that they haven't blown anybody out of the water, right? But one thing about them as well is that they have, I think, one of the best goaltenders in the tournament, a great decor, and their forward group is big, right? But so is Czech Republic, or Czechia as they're calling them. They are a very big team, and I think I mentioned this the last time we spoke. Czech has the most returning players out of everybody in the entire tournament, which, the last one you and I spoke about, it was in August. So it feels like we got a little bit of a double dip here with the World Juniors. So to me, that really, really helps them. And I think that they have a lot of depth. Even Team Canada, they pretty much went to 4 defensemen and 2 lines for most of the third period last game. Czech doesn't have to do that. I think it's a real big advantage for them. I got to go with the favorite, Jeff, because you know what? And I don't want you to think I'm just, as Kelly in Vegas calls it, a chalk-eating weasel, because I said on my prop show last week, plus 650 for Czech was ridiculous, and I talked with you about it, I think, right? And
you actually, not to cut you off, when we talked last week, they were plus 700.
Plus 700, yeah. I think, I remember, because I talked with you right after they beat Canada, and I was like, honestly, that was pretty impressive. So, that's kind of where I'm looking here. I think that I don't really want to get involved with the puck line, to be honest with you. I'll be happy to lay the juice in that one. And as far as the total goes, I think I'd have to go under because I think Sweden's going to do everything they possibly can to contain them. I had a friend text me. He was at one of the Swedish games, and he goes, man, Sweden plays scared. He's like, Sweden just protects the lead. He's like, I hate how they play. He was the kind of hockey fan that wants to see goals. He wants to see like a 6-5, 6-4 game. He's like, I hate that when Sweden gets a lead, they protect it so much. So I'm gonna go with that, and then I'm like I said, I'm staying off the side in the later game. I'm going with the over. I think we will see some goals. We saw some good goaltending from Team Canada, but I think they're still sloppy defensively in the middle of the ice. The U.S. The funny thing is they lost to the Slovaks, but since that loss, it's been very similar to the Canada loss against Czech. Both of them needed a big punch landed on them in round one, and then all the way up until now. What are we in, round 10 or 11? They have pretty much cruised and not really faced too much adversity, although Canada did, of course, had to win that one in overtime. So when you take a look at the number here, I'm seeing at DraftKings 7 plus 110. At some places, Jeff, you can get a 6 lay-in juice. It all depends on how anybody wants to look at that. But one thing crazy about this game, I mean, if you're a prop better, you're looking at Gunther, you're looking at Bedard, you're looking at Hughes. It's incredible what some of these guys are doing on a consistent basis. I never really realized how long this tournament was until for about a 4 or 5 day period, I was drinking and going to all the games. And I'm like, man, this is a long tournament. But these guys are out here for a long time being asked to perform at a high level. And I think that it just took some time for especially for USA to start clicking. Like I'm seeing, you can get USA's team total over 2.5 minus 145, 3.5 is plus 160, but the Canada over 2.5 team total is minus 350 at DraftKings. I got to ask you what you think about that, because that's a little bit.
So they're basically, in a nutshell, telling you two things there. Okay. Most likely USA will get to 3. Most likely.
Yeah.
They're telling you Canada is getting to 3. There's no doubt Canada's getting to 3.
Right.
So now here's my breakdown of the Canada game, just from a market value. Outside looking in, people that haven't been following us, haven't been following you, haven't been following the tournament, I get USA plus 160. You shouldn't be.
Yeah.
They're running to the window. It's only costing them minus 140 to get a goal and a half. Well, if Canada wins, there's no way they're winning by 2 goals. Oh, really? Okay. This is telling me Canada not only wins, they win by 2 or more. That's just exactly. And by your team totals there, I could see 4-2. I could see if USA happened to get to 3, then this is going to be a 5-3 and over. I'd be more on the Canada 4-2 number than I would the 5-3 number. Looking at that game.
What was it for Canada 3.5 again? Let's see here. Canada 3.5 is 150.
Minus
150. Yeah. So that's crazy to me, because the 60-minute line is, which, let's be honest, most places, anybody that bets online now can bet that. The regulation line is minus 120.
Mm-hmm.
Money line 195. But that, the plus one, and here's the thing I will say, the plus 1.5, which I'm happy you brought up there for USA being minus 140, is near the same price as their over 2.5 team total goals. Which one would you rather? I would take the team total in a heartbeat for USA over the plus 1.5 goal, because like you just mentioned, they could lose that game 5-3. They could win it 5-3 as well, but guess what? Either way, we're cashing the team total. That's what I would look at.
These numbers here are telling me Canada wins, and most likely, I mean, it's only a minus 195. Okay. The goal minus a goal and a half is plus 120. The numbers ain't jiving. And when you break it down in the team totals, I would not be shocked if USA got stuck on stupid and got stuck on 2. I would not be shocked there.
I'll say this: special teams will play a huge factor in this game. Both of these clubs, if you're an over better, which, like I said, I'm probably going to be one. Let's be honest here. We'll see. I want to just enjoy the game, but it's automatic. It's automatic, the power plays. But here's one thing I worry about, though, is that 5-on-5 for both clubs against like good opponents, because this is like one of those things where I talked with you about this over the past few weeks. I've been trying to get away in the NHL from the strength and weakness of schedule. Like sometimes I'll still talk about it and I'll still use it in my handicapping, but I can't look at statistics from Canada, Austria and use it towards my handicapping for this game. I can't talk about their ozone time, against the team that just got relegated. So, but when I look at the 5-on-5 goals for both USA and Canada, it's not as great as you'd think. When you look at their power play execution numbers, it is out of this world. And that will definitely be a huge factor. I have seen some things, though, where people overall think that USA has the deeper team and the more skillful team. Canada just has more size. They're more physical. So I'm interested to see how the game is called, because if it's tightly called, I think USA could make Canada pay early in the game and Canada will have to adjust. But if it's not, we might see some big hits. And of course, we got the home crowd with them. But that 2.5 seems to be pretty good, though, over 2.5 team total.
What'd you have for a number on that again? Over 2.5?
I'm sorry. Minus 140, I believe it was. Let's confirm that. 145 is what the team total was there. I just find that interesting, Jeff, that it's 7 plus 110 at DK. We've got minus 195 money line. The puck line is plus 120, but you still have to lay 150, minus 150 for over 3.5 goals for Team Canada.
So let's do the basic math now. So you have to move Canada 4 there. They're giving you the push there. So you move Canada to 4 there, right? So now you got the USA. What is their team total at 2 goals?
What, over 2.5? Minus 150.
Oh, and what is it over 3.5?
It is plus 160.
Okay. So again, they're going to get to 2. They're going to get to 2. Do they get to 3? Is the question. If they get to 3, so now you break down the Canada team total. What are they over 2.5?
Oh, it's ridiculous. It's minus 350.
Okay, and what are they over 3.5?
Minus 150.
And what
look at that difference. That's crazy.
What are they over 4.5?
Plus 145.
There it is right there. If USA gets, you could really play some games here, Andrew, especially you here. If you like the USA team total over 2.5, but you think Canada's not just going to win the game, but potentially cover the puck line. So, in other words, if you like USA to get to 3 but not win the game, you're supposed to then say, okay, let's get cute here. I'm going to take Canada team total over 3.5, and I'm going to take it over 4.5.
And then I just wouldn't even mess with the total anymore. Just take the team totals, which could make more sense long term. Yeah. I like it. Hopefully you and I don't do all this talking and see a 2-1 hockey game. But I think we will see some goals. That's for sure. And you even look at the quarterfinals for both clubs where, like I said, there were chances created that they weren't finished. And but I do worry about, I've always said this, like a top 6, right? Where these players, they're all on their top lines in their major junior, in their U.S. development program teams, NCAA. It's not that these top guys don't know how to play defense. It's that a lot of times when they play, they don't have to. Like Connor Bedard has gotten some flack from people, which that guy shouldn't get flack for anything right now, honestly. But people say like, oh, well, how about his back checking? Well, he I don't know if you've seen, there's literally a video of like 4 or 5 hits he's gotten. Like he got against Sweden and Slovakia. He loves to stick lift guys and back check. They don't really catch him behind his own blue line very often. And that's a problem, but it's also because he doesn't really usually have to be there. I mean, if you watch any of his games for the Regina Pats this year, how often is he even in his own end? And that's the problem. Same thing for the U.S. guys. The top 6 for U.S. is very lethal. Lots of draft prospects, lots of guys that are already drafted. And I think this could be a good old-fashioned game of pond hockey out there with with a bunch of skill guys on display. And that's really the test. Which team breaks that mindset of we're going to go out there and show off our skill? And based on what I've watched in the media, Canada looks like the team that says, hey, we want to be physical. We want to shut them down, versus USA is like, yeah, we've got a deep team. Like, we think we're better line for line. So I love watching like media reports. I don't use that for my handicapping always, but in tournaments I do, because, well, it's just one game. You know, it's not really like an 82 game hockey or NBA season where you're getting a quote here that they just want the media to hear. This is the next day. One thing as well, Jeff, the championship game gold medal is tomorrow. No day off after that. So that'll be one thing as well to see, what happens in these games, and then right away move into tomorrow. And of course, we'll have the bronze medal game as well.
Give me the comparison before I break down the second game. Bedard, where is he the next coming of? And I'm not going to put a name out there. I'm just asking you, who are they comparing him to?
Well, everybody I've seen a lot of articles talking about Wayne Gretzky as far as the most, highly touted prospect since him. Obviously, this tournament's being played, where I grew up and where Sidney Crosby grew up. So a lot of people are talking about Sidney Crosby and what he's done to the game here in Canada. And now you see the game that Bedard plays. Here's what I'll say about Bedard. Every player will say this, but I think he truly means it when he says he couldn't care less about his individual statistics. He wants to win. Like, when he's making all these moves and doing everything that's so unbelievable, he's not doing it with the message of look at me. He's doing it with I want to win gold. So I think he has the hockey IQ of Sidney Crosby. I think he has the potential shot of an Austin Matthews. And I think that the way his edges are, he looks like McDavid. So, I mean, this is a guy. Look, here's the thing. He's small. So I don't know if he will immediately make that jump into the NHL and start lighting things up. But I think more than anything, if I could make one comment that I've seen from Bedard when I've been at those games in person, it's hockey IQ, Jeff. That's the biggest thing I would say. He makes his team better when he's out there, whether it's passing, whether it's, defense, forechecking. That's what I'd say. It's his hockey IQ. Some of the passes he makes, he knows where his teammates are at all times. And that's really, to me, the biggest key, because there was that game where he scored a hat trick, or maybe I think 4 goals. And then the next day I was at the game and my buddy said to me, should I bet Bedard over 1.5 goals again? And I said to him, I don't know, man. I think he might. I think tonight might be his passing night. And he had 4 points and 4 assists in that game. So he showed he can do it all. But yeah, I think hockey IQ is the biggest thing I'd say for him. He sees the game very well.
You're saying small. Are we talking Pavel Bure small, or we're a little bigger than,
Yeah, like a little bigger than Well, it's hard to say. See, like, whenever I say that to any of my buddies that play hockey, they're just like, well, he's 17, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of forgot about that, So you never really, you never really know, I guess, when they're gonna, when he's 19 or 20, how big he'll be. But look at a guy like Trevor Zegras for Anaheim. I mean, the hands that he has, it's crazy. And what is he, like 140 pounds in a pool? Like this guy, it's size does not mean as much as anymore in the NHL, but Jeff, I want to say something real quick, and I don't want it to look like I'm hating on the guy, but Shane Wright really hasn't looked like the superstar that everybody said he was going to be. What he does look like is a rock steady two-way player. That's what he looks like to me. Here in Canada, we heard about Shane Wright for 2 or 3 years. He was like clear-cut number 1. The guy slides to 4th overall, and it was Slavkovsky, Nemec, then Cooley from USA, and then he goes 4th. But if you're right now and you see what Bedard is doing next to you, you're like, holy smokes, I thought I was going number 1 overall last year. This guy could have gone number 1 overall last year. It's crazy to see, but as a Montreal fan, of course, just to bring my fandom in for a second, I was like, man, I think Slafkovsky's better than Wright. I'm happy we picked Slafkovsky. But the one thing about Wright, he doesn't do anything flashy. He's just a two-way guy, takes care of things on the one end of the ice, takes care of things on the other. But I haven't really been all that impressed with him.
Now, Bedard, it goes into the draft to win
This coming year.
So I'm hearing the word generational, obviously. Is there going to be any who currently is the worst team in the NHL right now?
It's the Ducks, Coyotes, Blackhawks. Blue Jackets are mixed in there, and my Canadians are somewhere down there now too after a huge losing streak. So I've watched a funny clip on Spit and Chicklets Barstool there. They were talking about thinking that Gary Bettman, because Gary Bettman loves the Coyotes, and obviously I know he doesn't control who wins the lottery, so to speak, but how crazy would it be if Bedard landed in Arizona? Like, they build a new arena, everything gets settled, and all of a sudden Bedard is wearing a Coyotes jersey for at least 3 years. I mean, he's not going to get traded after his entry-level contract. And I had a debate on Sports Grid about this. Where would be a better location for him to go, Anaheim or Chicago?
I was just going to say, where he has to go.
Yeah.
He has to go to Chicago. He
I
has
know.
to. Because Chicago going to get rid of, probably the last two staples, probably at the trade down, at least Kane or whatever they're going to do over there. It's almost like, we talked about the Avs, how bad they were and what they had to do to get to where they were. And they were lucky that they ended up with the third pick. And what's his name? McCord fell to him, correct?
Yes.
Okay. But obviously Bedard is not falling to 3 here. We know that so breaking that down. I mean, he's got to make it to Chicago. Chicago's got to get the one. No, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, my argument was like not just the historic franchise aspect, but just like as a team perspective. Trevor Zegras, Mason McTavish, and Troy Terry for Anaheim would be a pretty cool team for him to land on. But as far as the franchise is concerned and the guys that have played there in the city, Chicago is the city for it. I mean, who would you rather play for, the Coyotes or I mean, think about the pressure that would be on him if he went to the Coyotes. He would be an 18-year-old kid expected to be the best player on the ice whenever he's out there for the Coyotes. It would be, but I mean, season tickets, sales, people traveling from out of town, jerseys, merchandise, sweaters. That's what the league wants, is certainly, that Arizona has never had the number 1 overall pick?
No, I didn't know
that. That is something that would be crazy to see. One thing about Montreal, you know how when people make trades, they do conditions. So it's a conditional pick. So when Montreal traded Ben Sherratt to Florida for a first rounder, they didn't condition that pick. And if Florida right now if they slide, then Montreal potentially could have a better chance than most at Bedard because they will have 2 picks inside the top 15. So then, of course, they do the draft lottery during the playoff games and at the intermission. And I got to say this, though. It actually is a really good draft class, Jeff, besides just him. So we'll do a draft show together. Maybe we'll talk about some of these prospects. I really enjoy doing it. I don't get to do enough shows that's not just about betting. I'm sure we'll find a way closer to the draft to correlate betting to it. But it is a really, really strong draft class. So I look forward to it, and I'm excited to be able to say that I've seen him play. But I think he is a generational player. It's one last thing I'll say. Don't mean to ramble on, but it's nice to see when the hype, when somebody lives up to the hype. Like these guys get so much pressure, the media, the articles, the headlines. Everybody is putting everything on this guy, and he's lived up to it every game. So it's really nice to see that. There was a question asked to him at the intermission. How does it feel to break Jordan Eberle's record and do this? And I actually know the girl that asked him the question, or I met her a couple times when I did media in Halifax, and he looked at her and was just like, why are you asking me this during the intermission? I don't care about this Jordan Eberle record. I want to win gold. So I think he's in for a good career.
The second game, you've been talking about the check the whole time. Again, on our show, we threw it out there. Hey, grab them at plus 700. Just reading the market. That's all I'm doing. Again, minus 140 for check. Sweden plus 115 and over under juiced under 5.5 at 135. Puck line here are very interesting. The Czechs to win by a goal and a half plus 190. Sweden plus a goal and a half minus 225. So I like the dog here. I think Sweden finds a way to get it done. I'm not going to run to the window and spend the 225, obviously on the plus 1.5 there. I mean, numbers are telling me it stays under. I think this is a classic 2-1, 3-2 game. Hard fought both sides. My question to you is, what are the two team totals on both those games? On both those teams, I'm sorry.
Taking a look at Czech, we've got over 2.5 minus 150. Over 3.5 is plus 160. And for Sweden, over 2.5 goals is a minus 110. Over 3.5 goals for Sweden is a whopping plus 230 there for them. If you want the under 2.5 for Sweden, it's minus 120.
So they're telling me Czechs win 3-2. That's what they're telling me.
Yeah, and it's
Czechs,
very clear. They're making it very clear. That's what they're telling us.
3-2. So if Sweden was to win this game, they're telling you it would be of the 2-1 or 2-0 fashion.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like if we're on the opposite sides as far as the side here, let's just take the under together.
Yeah. Only 3 games tonight, Andrew, in the NHL. Like I said, Devils are at the Red Wings. Kind of a short number, 155, 160, 155 at circa right now for the Devils. You can get the Wings plus 141 and under over a 6.5 under minus 15. The game of the night, Tampa at the Wild. Wild opened up minus 120 at circa now, minus 105 on both sides, 6 over minus 20 cents. And the Stars travel to Anaheim at circa right now. You can get the Stars minus 200, the Ducks plus 181 with a 6.5 under minus 15 cents.
You know, this is actually the smallest. We haven't had a 3-game Wednesday card all season long. This is our first 3-game Wednesday card. So obviously we do our show together on Wednesdays, but I don't really have a problem with it. I think it's more fun to break things down, and the way you and I look at these totals together and props, it's fun to look at things. And I think that the Devils, Red Wings, to me, this might surprise you with me saying this, but numbers actually gone down a little bit. I think it's cheap on the Devils. And I look at this as one of those spots where I said to you earlier in the show that I haven't been looking at strength of schedule, weakness, who a team has played, all that stuff too much. But that situation applies perfectly in this game here for the New Jersey Devils. Look at who they've played recently. You know, they have been in some absolute wars. They've been in some battles against top tier opponents. So when I'm betting on a good team against a not so good team, what's the number one thing I want to think going into it? This team is focused. I think New Jersey will be focused going into this game. I like to try and come ready to your show with some props. We have seen Jack Hughes go over 3.5 shots on goal, and I think it was 8 straight games. 7 or 8 straight games over 3.5 shots on goal, and you're getting a pretty good number there on that one. So I think that's the move. I think that I will just take the number at minus 155 with the Devils. As far as Lightning and Wild, a little bit of a different scenario, kind of going opposite of what I just said there, as far as a team coming off a game. Maybe they won't be focused here this time around. That's the Tampa Bay Lightning. This is how I think. This is how my mind works, Jeff. I look at a team like Tampa. They came off a game against Chicago. You know, anybody's beating Chicago right now. I'm killing myself every night for not betting puck lines against Chicago. You and I could have bought a mansion for a bet. Anaheim, Montreal, Chicago. Bet puck lines against them the rest of the year. You can buy your family a trip somewhere. I mean, that's the way it works right now. But I don't, you know, they start Brian Elliott, so they save Vasilevsky for tonight, which is obviously a smart move. But the Wild at home have played super well. They've won I think 7 or 8 straight at home against Tampa Bay. They're 7-2-1 their last 10 games against Tampa in general overall. And the biggest key to me about this Wild team right now is their defense. They're not winning all their games by scoring 5 goals. They're allowing 1, 2, 3 goals sometimes, which is very impressive. So, first 2 games, I like the Wild, and I like the Devils to get it done in a couple different scenarios. But I'll tell you what, to be honest with you, in that Devils and Red Wings game, I will probably only officially be betting props. So we can look over some more props if you have any interest in that. But I think it makes for a fun props game.
Friday we had the Devils. Started out down, and I think it was when I listened to Sports Grid. I think Gabe and Cam and Sharapin were all on them, and I thought we were going to be mush. And yeah, we had them at the Pens plus 100, and they ended up winning that game. And had them on the desk Sunday. That was going to be the third leg. I thought they'd find a way to slow down the Canes. I stayed off of it, and then we went against obviously the Canes last night and got the win with the Rangers there. That Wild team that someone talked about pre-flop.
You did.
It's crazy. Again, ask me to give you 5 players on that team. You have to pause the show, and I'll go on Google for a second, okay? Ask me to read the market and numbers and what the hell looks wrong and what are you guys telling me? It stuck out like a sore thumb. Now, are they going to win the West? Probably not. Are they going to win their division? Who knows? But the numbers stuck out like a sore thumb.
Well, and what if I told you a huge factor of that is having, Foligno and Ryan Reeves on your team? I don't think a lot of people would even agree with me that even matters. I think it does. They've got a physical team, a fast team, 2 great goaltenders, and a nasty power play. What else can you ask for? I thought to myself, what the hell is this team doing picking up Ryan Reeves? Like, did you have that same reaction when you heard that? To me, I was like, what are they doing? But now they've got like a bottom 6 that nobody wants to mess with. And what's going to happen if someone takes a run at Kirill Kaprizov? They're going to have like 3 of the biggest fighters in the league going after them for a whole period. I think it makes a huge difference, and again, something I always say is that I don't think that Minnesota is uncomfortable playing in first to 3 goals wins type of games. That's what makes them elite, I believe. They don't need to score 4 or 5 to win a hockey game. They do play very well at home. There was one more prop I wanted to mention, actually, Jeff. If I could just pull it up for you. Oh yeah, Braden Point. Braden Point is on a pretty good streak as far as his shots on goal, and it's 2.5, and you can get it for -135. So he's a good guy. Dougie Hamilton is someone that I've been betting on, but I don't want to. I know you wouldn't mind if I had good reasoning behind it, but I don't want to come on your show and give out too big of favorites. I mean, this guy's getting juiced up. If you bet 1.5 right now, it's 175 for him. A lot of defensemen, you get 1.5 shots on goal props with them. But hey, I mean, a winner's a winner. A lot of people loaded up when they bet Floyd Mayweather against McGregor -400. So a winner's a winner, I guess. But those are 2 props I recommend people getting down on there tonight. Braden Point and Jack Hughes over on their shots on goal.
Without tipping your hand, everyone watching and listening, where can the average person, where do you suggest they go when they're searching out props?
For like information and stuff like that?
Information, odds. Not a lot of the sports books, have props. So, I mean, I'm not telling you to tell them where to go shopping at what sports books or casinos, but for the average person that wants to start having a hard time picking sides, team totals, or whatever in hockey, now wants to get into the prop game, where do you suggest that they go?
Well, I think Team Rankings is a really good website I use for NFL, NHL, and NBA. It's one you can look at for, percentages on the power play, who's out there when, how often a player is is shooting. I really recommend people. I told you about this website before. Props.cash it's a subscription service. I think there's some of it is free, but what I like about these guys is that they're constantly upgrading their model. They just put a new upgrade in a couple days ago. It looks so clean on the eyes, the way that they format it, the way that they take a look at it. And what's so great about this is that, sure, they're giving you trends, but they're not just giving you trends for the player that you're betting on, Jeff. They're giving you information on the team you're betting against. And that's really what I look at the most. Look at, go on NHL.com and look at the teams that give up the most shots on goal. Look at the teams that don't do very well on the penalty kill. Different examples like that are where you're going to be able to find, like, what I like to do. If I see a team that's not good on the penalty kill, I'll bet the number 1 or number 2 defenseman on their opponent over shots on goal, because a lot of times that's where they get their points or they get their shots on goal. Defensemen don't score as many points 5-on-5. The top tier defensemen get their points on the power play. But yeah, RotoWire, the props website, team rankings, NHL reference. To be honest with you, I use the Score app a lot. I just literally look at those statistics for goals for, goals against, shots against. But if you're not using that props.cash, I think anybody that bets props, because there's some websites, like, that shot quality website, very, very, very expensive, and it's a great website, but this props one, I think, is like $240 American for a season. You're betting like $25-$50 a prop, whatever you're betting, you're making that back pretty quick if you have some success. So like, here's an example. So for Jack Hughes, you take a look. So they'll tell you that he has gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's got 7 of his last 8 games. He's gone over this number, and they'll tell you in the last 10 games, whatever he's gone, last 30, he's gone 19 for 30 versus Detroit. He's had his last 3 games. He's gone over 2 of the last 3. Detroit, their defense, they rank 17th in the league in shots on goal allowed. You can take a look at all kinds of players that are around the same skill level as Hughes that have recently played against Detroit and how they performed. And then in one column, it'll tell you the amount of time he spends on the ice. And then my biggest one actually is shot attempts. So last couple games against Detroit, we saw him get 10, 8, 11, 6 shot attempts. So not only the shots on goal, how many shots are a guy getting blocked, right? Because sometimes you might see a guy with 1 shot, but he tried to get off 5 or 6. So it's great, because I understand what you're saying about not everywhere accepts props, but the fact is not everybody's betting 500 a game or 250 or whatever it is. Some people are betting 50, 100, and sportsbooks these days will let you bet that on props.
It's funny because, as you said, and this is a misconception in our lane, there's 1% that go up to the window, bet 5 dimes, 10 dimes. On occasion, of course, you get the Mattress Max, you got the guys going to the window 100,000. These big Action Network and whatever. Hey, guy went to the Caesar Sportsbook and bet 4 games, all at 300,000 each. They are okay. It's free marketing. It's free advertising. I get that. Okay. The average person bets 25 to 50 a game. Now, that doesn't mean he's not spending $200 or $300 a day, meaning, just like you said, hey, I like 2 sides today. Let me get involved now into the prop world. Let me play 5 props at $20 a piece. If I go 3 and 2, hey, I broke even or I made a little money. And then if my sides, I go 2-0. So it's just another avenue. Like this fall, especially now coming into 2023, the team totals is just where my eyes flock to. It's college football, hockey. And I can tell you, I haven't looked. I mean, I look at the numbers, but I haven't done a puck line in forever. We'll do them in the action parlays. Don't get me wrong. But, if there was tomorrow, for instance, Rangers are -200 at your Canadians. I'm not going to lay the 200, but I'd probably run to the window and play the Rangers on the puck line, and I couldn't get an empty net goal if it was 5-on-0. I'm telling you, we can't get an empty netter. So I don't have to rely on that anymore, and I don't have to rely on shootouts. I don't have to rely on overtime. Overtime, yeah, sometimes to get that team total. But the fact is, more often than not, the sides don't matter. The TCU game, for instance, we got our team total over the start of the third period. I mean,
Awesome.
it was thanks for playing. We had to sweat a little on the Georgia team total against Ohio State. But the fact is, again, it didn't matter that Georgia won and didn't cover. It's all that mattered to us is they got their team total.
Well, that's what I was just about to say, is that when you're betting props and team totals, what's actually going on in the game as far as the score goes doesn't matter as much. It really doesn't. I mean, you could be betting on a team total and your team could be down 5-0 after the second period, and your team could get you 3 goals in the third, and you're a happy camper. I've had Montreal team total over 2.5 this year where they lost the game 6-3, 5-3, 4-3. All I needed was that magic number, right? And, tonight, if the Red Wings are up 4-1 on the Devils, and I say to myself, man, I'm so happy I didn't, take the Devils on that big, minus 150-60 here. But good thing is Jack Hughes has 4 shots already in the second period. That's what's cool about the prop betting world. I really do like that. And for your team totals, it's the same thing. The spreads are so sharp, but I don't think they can keep up enough with these team totals. They might be good at knowing where the game might land as far as the spread, but as far as these team total, especially for college football, I think that's the way to go with that. I mean, forget about keeping up with the score. Let's just get one team over or under a certain number and say thanks for playing.
Monday night, perfect example. Avs minus 165, 170 in some shops against Vegas. I'm not laying that number. I had the team total over 3.5 plus 110. We had plus money. They scored a minute into the game. I'm like, okay, they took 2 periods off. They got it to 3-2. Couldn't tie it up to bring it to OT. The fact of the matter is, I'll lose my unit with pride at plus 110. I didn't lose minus 170 on the Avs.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Right there with you with it. And I like that a lot. And that's how I feel about team totals, how I feel about props. And my biggest pet peeve is somebody saying, oh, well, you don't have a read on the game. Like, oh, you don't want to bet this game. I'm like, I am betting the game. Like for the Canada versus Austria game, somebody asked me, are you betting on Austria plus 10.5 goals or minus 10.5 for Canada? I said, I'm not betting either of those things. I literally put both I made 2 bets and I hit them both, and they were both props. One of them was a defenseman over on points and one of them was a goal scorer. Like I'm done with loading up on it. And that's the thing with me too, Jeff, with my volume these days. And hats off to anyone that can bet high volume. I can't. I've proven to be a much better sports bettor when I'm only going a couple bets. Like there's only a few places for Canadian sports books that are letting you get down on a lot of props for these World Juniors. So I let a couple of my friends send me some money and use my account. I'm scrolling through and he's got like 15 or 20 bets. And I'm not saying anything about units or anything, but he'll instead of putting like, let's say $200 on one, he'll sprinkle like $25 on like a bunch, right? And I get that because you want to just live to survive the next day. But for me against Austria, I just put, my normal bet size on 2 picks. And he's like, oh, you're not going to bet on this guy to score a goal. You're not going to bet on this guy over on points. I'm like, no, I don't need to be right. I just want to go 2-0 and move on to the next day. It's one of those funny things, but it's always fun to bet props. And I got to ask you, have you ever bet props in game before for football? Because that is that micro betting stuff is, people think the same. I'm telling you, here's my prediction as a 25-year-old. I think that same game parlays are the thing you see on TV and the thing that everyone's talking about all over social media. 5 years from now, you and I will be talking together and we're going to be talking about micro betting as just a normal thing. people betting on the next drive will result in a punt for the Carolina Panthers. The next drive will result in this guy, LeBron James's next point will be a finger roll layup. That's what's scary. That's what scares me about gambling, because I like props, but soon enough, this guy getting a double-double, that's just normal. You've got guys in Vegas, they don't like that stuff. They don't want to bet that, but soon that will be the norm, I think, Jeff. Micro betting is what scares me.
I have said all along, especially with legalized in the States, the professional sports arenas putting sports books in. So you're going to go in between innings to go to the beer stand to get yourself 2 beers, to get yourself a hot dog, get a bag of peanuts for the bride. You're going to come back down to your seat, and you're going to see Rafael Devers on deck, and they're going to give you 5-1 on a homer, 3-1 on a double. Even money, he gets to first base. Mm-hmm. That's coming ASAP. You go to some apps in golf, they're allowing you hole to hole. Oh, yeah. What is he going to do? I mean,
I've done it before, Jeff, with golf. I'll be honest with you. I've spent a Sunday having some beers with some friends betting on will Tiger Woods hit the fairway minus 145. It's crazy. And this is the thing. I want to say this. I will always be a sports fan first. I sell picks for a living. I do content for a living. I love sports, and it's part of the reason why I said to you that there's a good chance I might not bet on the Canada game tonight. I want to be a fan tonight. I want to have some food, have some fun, go down to the game, or if I'm watching on TV and just cheer. I don't want to be cheering for my team, but I hope USA gets 2 or 3 goals to help with the over. You know what I mean? Like it's what's sad is that sports fans have lost sense of being a fan, but I guess you could kind of say it's a little bit the other way around too. Some people have gotten into sports because betting too. Yeah.
50-50. You got 12 minutes before the puck drops for the first game. The scroll has been going the whole time, Andrew. Go follow him at McGinnis Picks at Wager Talk at Sports Mayflower. Go over to YouTube, Mayflower Sports. Subscribe. It's free. Tell a friend. Tell a couple other friends. Andrew, tell them what you got going on this weekend and for 2023.
Yeah, super excited for a busy weekend in the NHL. We've got UFC articles coming out, getting ready for the next few cards. So I'm going to kind of get ahead of that. NFL. Speaking of props, Jeff, what a weekend. If you like betting on NFL props, this will be one of my biggest weekends for that. They've got the milestones. It's milestone weekend. This is where you can kind of pick your spots for guys that need this, that need that. Also, as handicappers, we're trying to find some games that matter to certain teams, some games that don't matter for certain teams. I do have something I wanted to bring up, if it's all right with you, as far as Wager Talk stuff. If anybody wants my full year, I did have a few people message me after your show last week. Buy a full year, you get 84 days free. You buy a 90-day pass, you get 20 days added onto it. And if you buy a 30-day pass, we're adding 7 days onto it. So that's good until Friday. But if you buy that 1-year pass, you're getting 84 days added onto it. That'll take you to March Madness of 2024. So I can't believe I just said that, 2024, but here we are.
Guys, do not listen. ECSI on January 1st, we celebrated our 8th-year anniversary. Awesome. We came on to Twitter January 1st, 2015. We have connected with some amazing people in these lanes, and you're one of them. And we preach long-term. You preach long-term. Guys, I understand when you look at your finances and you say, you know what, let me just try it for a week. Let me just try it for a weekend. And it's all about numbers. You follow social media and you follow someone that's hot as a firecracker. Okay, I'll throw my hat into the ring. Okay, we went on a 26-6 run. Okay, and people are knocking on the door, pounding on the door, and I'm a long-term guy, just like you. Okay, hey, do you got a week package? Do you got 2 week? We just want to try. It's numbers. It's called regression. You want someone that you can come in and trust. Why? Because if you catch him and he's hot that week, 11-1 and 11-2, God bless you. Okay. That doesn't mean you double, triple up those sizes.
Mhm.
That doesn't mean, oh, Jesus, I thought I was only going to get a Fiat. Now I'm going to go for the Ferrari. And next thing and vice versa. You come in and let's say you have that 3 and 7 week. And then next thing, oh, Jesus, what a shit bum. Hey, can I get a refund? I'm like, dude, there's the door. Start stepping. Okay.
Yeah.
So long term, if you can look at your bankroll, you can look at your sizing and finance it. Reach out to Andrew, say, hey, I'd really love a year package. I've never been a client. Well, let me try 6 months. And that's how you do it, because you can allow the highs and the lows. And in the long term, you're going to be a winner.
Well, and I have to thank you as well for connecting. First of all, just having me on. I enjoy these Wednesdays with you, but connecting me with your audience. Whether it's talking on Twitter with people that I've met through you, or when we were in Vegas together, or anything like that. But there's goods and bads to this industry, and I think we've tried to stay positive with it and meet all kinds of good people. And as far as the long-term people as clients, those are the ones I love talking to, because they aren't stressed after 3 days, right? Or 1 day, or it's great to look at a 90-day pass with Wager Talk. I don't sell a lot of them. I sell mostly either the 1 month or the 1 year, but I think the 90 days is great, because you said that it's very expensive maybe for a 1 year, but 90 days you get to dip your toes in the water a little.
100%. And we're coming into the fun times. You have the NFL playoffs. You have obviously the Super Bowl. You got March Madness, conference titles, and next thing you know, we'll be talking the Masters. We're talking NHL, NBA playoffs. So what better way to start the new year and a last-second Christmas gift to yourself? Go see him. If you have any questions, come see me at EC Sports Invest. So with that, I want everyone to have a blessed day. Go Canada, go USA. That's the late game. You got a good game coming at 2:30. And myself and Andrew will see you next week at the same time. Actually, yeah, 1 o'clock. We'll see you soon.